Hello, everybody, and welcome on in to Vandy on SI. I'm Dylan Tovitz here with Joey Dwyer. We are right outside the Vanderbilt practice facility where we were today after, some Clark Lee quotes. It's also my first time hosting one of our shows, so this is very exciting.
I love it. Very exciting.
But yeah, it's been a good week of practice. Clark Lee said he liked the intensity of the team, per usual, and obviously a big game coming up this weekend. But what did you kind of see at practice this week? You were also spoke to Clark on Tuesday, so what are you kind of looking for heading into Saturday, Joey?
Well, I think the big thing is we've talked about Vanderbilt football and kind of the buzz around it. I think a lot of the buzz, and it's still about the locker room being clean on Saturday, and people are surprised that they're well coached and things along those lines. I think if they win this weekend, that goes to another level, and it's kind of what Bryce Henderson said. Like, a lot of people gave him backlash for saying nobody talks about Vanderbilt. I think this weekend is an opportunity for them to be talked about in a different way as legitimate college football playoff contenders, and it's early for that, right? But they have talked about that being the expectation. I think at some point, if you win this game, you got to take them seriously. They beat a top 15 team on the road this weekend, and I think all bets are off really on what the rest of the season could be. They've got to do it first, though, Dylan, and I think there's not a whole lot left to say before Saturday. We wanted to get on here quick and just discuss it since we're in the same place, but man, this is a big game for them this weekend, and we can't really report practice stuff this week, but I think it's also funny they're playing Sandstorm this week. They have clearly leaned into the song angle at practice and trying to be prepared for that. So
yeah, I saw a video of I was like, all right, they're playing Enter Sandman at practice, and there's a video posted on Twitter of when Enter Sandman was playing at the stadium, they were all huddled, right, ready to walk onto the field, singing the song and jumping and dancing to it. So it's a little bit of not necessarily making fun of it, but more just all right, if you're gonna play these songs to get your crowd hype, we're gonna get hype also, which I think is a great mentality. I think that they're not don't it for any other reason than to have fun with it at practice, and it's just part of that culture we've seen developing. And I don't want to talk too much about the culture because we've talked a lot about it, but you see atmospheres and environments kind of change year to year, but a real culture in a program takes years to build. And it's we talk about Vanderbilt baseball. Vanderbilt baseball has a distinct culture, and that's been built over years and decades since Tim Corbin's been here, and you see kind of the signs, the same things you see with Vanderbilt baseball, you're starting to see them with football in terms of the fans and the coaching and just the environment around the team. So I think it means a lot, and obviously this game is massive. Last week was a big win against Virginia Tech, but this is their SEC game. This is, they're going on the road against the top 12 team in the country. And it's a game they can win, and they believe they can win, and it's clear in the way, Clark spoke today. It's not, they're not panicking. They're not, going to walk in mesmerized to Columbia like they might have in the past, and they're going there and they're expecting to come out with a win, and we spoke about it, but if they do come out with a win, we start to have a lot of conversations about what this team might look like going in, 5-0 to Alabama, and the future that holds. There was an article on part of SI, it was college football on SI, about college game day, and it actually right now has LSU at Vanderbilt as the number one destination for game day in week 8, which would obviously, a lot of stuff can change there, but it's kind of crazy that we're sitting at week 3 and we're looking at potential game down the road that Vanderbilt might be the premier game and to the point where game day comes. But yeah, a little bit I guess about specifically this matchup. South Carolina, obviously Shane Beamer, really known from his time with all the way from his dad for special teams. South Carolina's punt returner, I believe, has 3 touchdowns already, returning punts this year. Lee spoke a little bit about it today, about the special teams, but generally maintaining this idea of we're 3 phases, not 2. But how important do you think special teams and really winning on those margins is going to be this coming week, Joey?
Yeah, I think it's a big deal to do all the little things right in a game like this. We talked a lot throughout the weekend about how Vanderbilt didn't do the little things right and still won at Virginia Tech, and that being a big deal in itself. I think South Carolina is much better than Virginia Tech, and I think honestly it's too good to lose the margins against if you're going to win, especially at South Carolina. So I think every margin you can get is a big deal in that game, and Dylan Vanderbilt knows that well. It's lost 16 in a row to this program, and they've talked a lot about overcoming that this week, and just think it's such an interesting kind of point of view to think Marlon Sewell talked to us on Tuesday. You know how many teammates Marlon Sewell has had come through here and lose 4 games in a row to South Carolina? That's so many.
A lot.
And Clark Lee is 0-7 against South Carolina. All of his teammates experienced at least 3 losses against South Carolina, and most of them probably experienced 4. He experienced 3. I mean, this would be. It's not only to change the perception. I wrote this weekend. This could be a little dramatic. It's almost doing it on the behalf of the guys who have been here before and have all lost to the South Carolina team. I think this would be monumental in its own way, Dylan, if they were able to go and beat South Carolina this weekend. I think that'd be a big deal as well, just for that reason.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other aspect is here, it is a revenge game. You know, Diego's spoken a lot about how he thought that was last season the worst game that Vanderbilt played, and he's had it, circled. And I think he wants to prove that, Lenore Sellers has established himself as likely a first-round draft pick, like Heisman Trophy contender. I think Pavia wants to prove he can stick in that group. And I think in terms of containing Sellers, he hasn't necessarily looked amazing through 2 weeks, but he's still Lenore Sellers. And I think we saw them struggle at times with containing Kyron Jones's legs, especially in kind of that read option type offense. I thought there were a few plays that Jones was obviously going to keep, and Vanderbilt failed to contain him on the edge. So I think that, Sellers can run over a linebacker when maybe Jones can't, and I think containing his legs is going to be a key. And the other aspect is, who can go in there and stop that run game. And I think we saw a lot of progress. We spoke about this maybe on Monday, but from Nick Rinaldi, obviously he has the pass rushing techniques. He led the team in sacks last year. But I thought he was very good in the run game. I thought Bryce Cowan got into the game and really did make an impact. I think he had a couple, or at least 1 tackle for loss. So I think that linebacking core and their ability to, stifle the run is going to play a big impact. And we also, Issa Utaha is going to be listed as questionable. Lee said today that he's dealing with the same injury he has been. It's more of a wear and tear thing, where he's been limited in practice most likely, and isn't 100%, but it's not something that sounds like it's going to keep him out. But how big do you think kind of having Utaha in there is, and that front 4 in general, and stifling the run and pass rush for that matter?
Yeah, I'll start with this. Clark talked on Tuesday about how he thinks Lenore Sellers is far more effective when he can get out of the pocket and not even make plays with his legs as much as just kind of create some separation for himself in the backfield and get the pocket moving a little bit. I think that's a big deal for Vanderbilt I'm sure that's going to happen at times, but to kind of limit that. And I think Issa Wataha is a big deal if they can get him right. I mean, they are strong enough on the defensive line to be okay without him, I think. And I don't know that he's like a make or break player over the weekend, but I think Issa Wataha is a big deal for this team. That Clark Lee mentioned, it's an NFL prospect and the guy he thinks will be an NFL player ultimately. He's the type of guy that this program has really built itself on. A guy who came and didn't have a whole lot of football experience. They developed him, and he's turned into a good player as a result. So, Dylan, I think it would be a big deal to have him. I don't know that I think they're in trouble if they don't. I don't think any injury besides Pavia or Stowers would really get me there. But, man, I think as we kind of wrap up here, it's a big game, Dylan.
It's a really big game.
Marlon Sewell said it on on Tuesday, and, man, this could be a big win for them if they can get it. But obviously, to change perception, you got to do something that is crazy in order to do it. So, I don't know, Dylan. There's a lot left for this team, but you just kind of catch yourself thinking ahead that, man, if they can go do this whole thing could blow up a little bit.
It could, yeah. I mean, it's definitely, we said last week was an early turning point. I think this is another turning point again in the season, which is you're going to call every week a turning point, which is something I would do.
Please don't call Georgia State a turning point game.
Well, if they lose it becomes a turning point
yeah.
game like it was last year. But the truth is, this is a massive game, and they want it pretty bad, and I think we're going to see that kind of come into effect a bit in terms of their energy levels. And obviously for SEC, I think we're going to see Stowers more involved. He's been really good. I believe he's the highest rated tight end in the country and by PFF so far, which I've had people come up to me and be like, I don't understand, like my friends will say, why is Stowers a projected first round draft pick? He's really good and he does everything right, but he's not out there wrecking the game so far. And I think a lot of that has just been opportunity, and he still is blocking really well and creating separation on his routes and getting downfield. So
It's time for him to really
right.
take over a game, though.
We're waiting for the Stowers takeover, and it's coming. And I think this would be a great week to have it. They're gonna need it if they don't get it from him. Trey Richardson, Junior Sherrill, maybe even some Caleb Barnett. Richie Hoskins is a name we haven't said much, but waiting for him to have an impact as well. So there's a lot of playmakers on that offense, as well as Martel Hyde, who Lee spoke about today for a minute. Clark said that he spoke to Jaguars coach, which was reported in an ESPN article earlier this week, but he spoke to Jaguars head coach Liam Cowan about it over the summer in terms of Travis Hunter and what his role is going to look like for the Jaguars. Jerry Kill also spoke to Coach Prime, Deion Sanders, about what it looks like in Colorado, which is a cool little tidbit. But Lee said he really likes how Hyde is coming along. He's actually doing a bit more than they expected on both sides of the ball, which to me tells me really all three sides of the ball. He's their punt returner too. But to me, that tells me that expect to see him on the offensive side a good amount. This isn't something that I think in the beginning when he played a lot against Charleston Southern, we were thinking, all right, Martel Hyde, like they're getting him offensive reps now, and then he's going to go back to being solely a cornerback. Like I genuinely do think they want him to play both ways, so I would expect that to continue. And he's had a couple maybe drops or like balls that he could have, reeled in that he didn't. But I think he's doing a good job of creating separation, and you can really see that. So yeah, but obviously big game. Joey and Graham will be in South Carolina, Columbia, covering you live. So Vandy on SI for all your best coverage. Thank you guys as always, and we'll see you next time.